Hi, good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Florence Chikeze, and with me today is Ayo Abuola.
Thank you.
And we are coming live to you from Tango, Redalia Workspaces Tango, 43B Emina Crescent, off Toyin Street. So every Monday morning by 10 a.m., we bring to you business knowledge and business nuggets just for you, for your business to do better. Today we are going to be discussing 7 essential things to consider before building a website for your business. And Ayo is an experienced digital entrepreneur, a digital marketing trainer, and everything in between. Welcome. So if you're here, if you're live with us, say hi so we'll know that you're here with us. And then comments are welcome. Any question you need to ask about how to build a website or all the challenges that you have with building your website, pop in your questions in the comment section and we'll attend to you as soon as possible. Thank you and welcome. So Ayo.
Yes.
How long have you been building websites?
First of all, thank you for inviting me for this live session. And to answer your question, I have been in the digital space for quite a long time. I started building websites right after my youth service, the National Youth Service in 2009. So between then and now, that's about 8 years of experience building websites. Yes.
Okay, and apart from websites, what else do you do?
The natural thing after you finish building a website is to market that website. So we started also helping businesses advertise their websites. So advertise their business really, and that was online advertising and digital marketing. And we eventually found out that these people who have a website and also want to advertise their business online need some form of training to be able to advertise their services and goods online themselves. So from building website, we went into digital marketing and then also into digital marketing training for businesses.
Okay. Welcome. So if you're just joining us, can you say hi?
Don't worry, come on.
Something went wrong. If you're live, can you say hello so that we know we are here with you? Just we have to pause for a second to make sure that everything is fine.
Want to end it here?
No, but I don't know. Can you pause?
Let me check it here.
Let's check it with your live. So I think we are fine.
Okay.
We are fine.
Alright.
Okay. Look at the camera. So Ayo.
Okay.
So sorry for that break in transmission.
Okay.
So we are discussing 7 essential things to consider before building a website for your business.
That's
all
right.
Okay. Now we start now. Ayo, tell us all the things that we need to know before building our websites.
Okay. So many times businesses would say, "Oh, I want to have a website for my business so that lots of people can see what I do. They can see the services that I provide, the products that I sell," and usually, this decision comes out of an idea that once they have a website, then a lot of their problems can be solved, which is true in a sense. But there are quite a number of things that business owners usually don't take into consideration when they want to build a website for their business. And those things they don't take into consideration can actually lead to them having a non-functional website. So in the past 8 years or so of building websites, I've probably built over 90 to about 100 websites, and in that time, a lot of things have emerged, a lot of patterns have emerged, and that's what I've been able to put into these 7 essential things that you should consider, absolutely consider, before starting building a website for your business. And the first thing goes like this. If you have a business and it is around products or around a service, then the first thing you should do is to consider selling on social media. So when you sell on social media, you are not incurring the cost of building a website, but you are also able to still get your products and services across to the people who need them via social media platforms. So for instance, you go on your Instagram, you create an Instagram account for your business, and you can sell on Instagram, and you can sell as well on Facebook, or you can sell on Twitter, or you can even sell on LinkedIn. I mean, these platforms already exist, and the target audiences that you're trying to reach are already on these platforms, so it's easy for you to reach out to them on those platforms. So the first thing is you must consider selling on social platforms. When you have sold on social platforms, then you begin to understand the business more, and then you begin to see, you begin to know whether, okay, these social media platforms no longer meet my needs. I then need to go ahead and build a website. But from a social media platform, you get the best of both worlds without actually incurring costs on building and managing your own website. Now, that's it. The second thing that you need to do before building a website for your business, especially, and this goes especially for businesses that are service-oriented businesses, people who render services rather than sell goods or products. Now, because you're in a service industry, you want to have some form of thought leadership around your industry. You want to let people know that you know the stuff. You want people to know that, okay, when it comes to this industry, you have some unique insights. And to be able to do that, it means you need to probably write regularly about your industry. You want to write about things happening in your industry. You want to write about the problems and challenges that you're solving. And you want to do that on a platform that people can read your articles and comment on your articles and basically just engage your target audience. This is something that you would regularly or naturally do on a blog if you had a website. But if you don't have a website and you run a service business, you could still create a free blog for you to be able to share your thoughts, right? So, and there are many examples of free blogging platforms. There's blogger.com, there's wordpress.com, there's medium.com, and even LinkedIn has a LinkedIn publishing platform where you can actually share your expertise in those areas.
Okay, so if you're just joining us, we are discussing 7 essential things to consider before building a website for your business. And with me here is Ayodeji Abola. And we've already gone through the two essential things. We have 5 more to go. 1, you have to start selling on social media platforms and see how much engagement that you get before you start building a website. And secondly, there are free platforms that you can write about whatever service that you are offering or your product. Example is blogger.com or linkedin.com. So if you are joining us, say hi and ask any question that you need to ask about building websites. All right, Ayo, continue.
Okay, so we've gone through the first 2 things. I mean, this gets you across to your target audiences without actually breaking the bank, without shelling out money to actually build a website. Now, the third thing, which I usually consider the most important, is the cost. And this third essential thing is something I call the total cost of ownership. Now, let me explain what total cost of ownership is. I'm going to use a very simple example. And the example goes like this. If you buy a tin of milk, right, and maybe you wanted to have breakfast and you bought a tin of milk and you didn't finish that tin of milk, you don't want it to waste. So what you would do is you probably would save that tin of milk in the fridge, right, in the refrigerator. So you put it in the refrigerator, but your tin of milk, which costs actually maybe 200 naira, the total cost of owning that tin of milk has gone up because now you have put it in the refrigerator. If you didn't have a refrigerator, that tin of milk would have wasted. Now, even if you had a refrigerator and there was no electricity, then you obviously want to have a generator to power the refrigerator. So the total cost of owning a tin of milk is not really 200 naira. It has gone way past 200 naira because now you've added a refrigerator and you've added a generator. And if there's no fuel in your generator, you need to also buy that. So, and that's exactly what happens for all sorts of business costs. What's the total cost of owning a website? If I'm going to have this website, I'm going to be writing articles. Who's going to be writing those articles? Am I going to hire somebody? If I cannot hire somebody, can I write it myself? Do I have the time? Can I spend the time to write those articles myself? Okay. If I'm not writing, if I need photos and things to put up on my website, how do I get those photos? How do you source those photos? So the total cost of owning a website goes beyond just building it. There's going to be management costs. There are going to be lots of other things that you need to consider, and that's the most essential thing that most people need to know. Websites are things that they're fantastic tools that, if you handle them right, they can actually improve sales for your business. But you must know exactly what it is you're getting into before you eventually go ahead and buy and build a website for your business. So total cost of ownership is very, very important. You need to research, for example, what that website is going to cost you for a whole year, so you know what exactly you're getting into. And that's number 3 item.
Okay, so I want to ask, so if you have a website, for instance, an e-commerce website, maybe you just sell clothes. Okay. So what make up the total cost of ownership?
Okay, so for a website where you want to sell clothes, there are quite a number of things that you need to know beforehand. For instance, your online store is going to be selling clothes, which means there's going to be lots of display images of those clothes. Now, do you have a camera to take those clothes? There are pictures of those clothes. If you don't have a camera, do you hire a photographer? You see the attendant costs that come along, just having to upload products onto your website. Every time you have new stock available to showcase on your website, how do you go about photographing and displaying those photos? If you have gotten those photos, do you have the expertise to actually upload those photos onto the platform yourself? If you don't have it, do you train somebody who's going to be working with you to do it? Those are the things that you must understand before you go ahead and build a website. So there are lots of things that attend to the total cost of owning a website, and that's very, very key. And usually when these costs pop up, business owners are like, I didn't know this.
You didn't tell me.
You didn't tell me this was how it's going to be. So they quickly lose hope and give up. So if you knew this beforehand, then you'll be ready. You'll be better ready, and you'll have planned yourself better for the whole website thing.
Okay, so if you are joining us, we are discussing 7 essential things to consider before building a website for your business. We've already gone 3, and we have 4 more to go. So the last one, total cost of ownership. So before you go ahead and build a website, just know that you're going to be paying for hosting, you're going to be paying for the domain name, you're going to be, there are just a lot of costs.
You're a veteran already.
So people are just like, you didn't tell me, and maybe the person who built the website may be honest and they may think the person is scamming them. So these are knowledge that we need to know, and we are actually giving you this knowledge for free because it is important to us that businesses do what they are doing well and that we succeed, and take our economy to the next level. So they're just joining us. Ask your questions. If you are any question, pop in the comments and we'll be glad to answer your questions. Thank you, Ayo. So let's go to the 4th step.
Okay, so the 4th step, the essential thing that you need to consider. The first 3 things are things that you should do before you build your website. If you've done the first, you've done the second, you've done the third, and you still decide that I think I actually do need a website, then you need to start with the fourth thing. Now, this fourth thing is all around your domain name and hosting. I'm sure you must have heard about domain names and hosting, and these are essential in understanding what your website is going to do for you. So I have a very simple example on what your domain name and hosting, what it is. Because when business owners hear these terms, they kind of are like, this is so complex. What is domain name? What is hosting? But let me just explain them in very, very simple things. So a domain name is essentially your website address. So www.abcdrycleaners.com, for example, or www.redaliaworkspaces.com. That's what is called a domain name, right? Now, the hosting, on the other hand, is the server or the computer on which your website is going to be stored. Now, the fourth thing we're considering in this essential things is that as much as possible, you, the business owner, should buy your domain name and hosting yourself. Let me use another example to clarify what domain name and hosting is. Your house where you live has an address. Your house address is different from your house, even though your house address points to your house, right? So I live at number 43B Emina Crescent, for instance. That's the house address. But the house itself is different, even though the house address is pointing to the house. So the domain name is that address that is pointing to where your website's content is stored. It's pointing to the computer on which your website content is stored. So in essence, the domain name points to the hosting. Now, the reason why you should buy your domain name and hosting yourself is because the way the internet works, there are people called registrars. These registrars are the people who actually are in charge of selling domain names. So you want to build a website for your laundry business, which is called ABC Dry Cleaners, and you want to buy abcdrycleaners.com. So you go to any of the online registrars, there's so many of them, and you check for availability, because abcdrycleaners.com might already have been bought by somebody else. So you want to check if it's available. Now, the way the internet works is the person who buys the domain name that is considered the owner of that domain name. Naturally, what you would do is to tell your person who's going to build your website to check, this is the address I want. They would check for it if it is available, and then they would buy it. What that means is that they own that domain name. As far as the registrar is concerned, it is the person who purchased it that owns the domain name. After they finish building your website, the web designer is supposed to pass the ownership along to you. But because sometimes a lot of website designers, for some reasons they might be unavailable or they would forget, they would not pass this ownership back to you, and then when it is time for you to renew your domain name after 1 year, as the case may be, you start looking for them, and then for instance, you might just not be able to find them. So just like your house address or your rent, which you renew annually, you also actually have to renew your domain name and hosting. So having this information in mind will help you actually plan. If I want to build a website, the first step is the domain name and the hosting. And as much as possible, you should try buying that domain name yourself, or buying the hosting yourself. These things are very, very simple to do. You just need to have a guide that can take you through them, so that you can avoid the issues that come up if the designer has bought your domain name and for some reason they are unavailable when it is time to renew. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Someone just joined, Obilo Joshua. Obilo said he's watching from Owerri, Imo State.
Nice,
so Obilo,
welcome.
So if you are here, we're discussing 7 essential things to consider before building a website for your business, and we've already gone through the 4 things. we have 3 more to go. So and we are trying to also comment so that people who are just joining will follow up immediately. Yes, so we have 3 more to go.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. So we've gone through quite a number of things, 7 essential things to consider before building a website. We started with selling on social media, creating a free blog from which you can actually share your thoughts on your industry. We've talked about the total cost of ownership, which is quite important, so that you know what exactly it is you're getting into. And we've also talked about domain name and hosting, what they mean, and you being able to buy your domain name and hosting yourself. So the 5th thing that you need to consider before building a website is you writing out a brief for what you want and then creating the content. I'll explain what I mean. I want to build a website. I want it to look like this website. I want it to have this. I want to have that. I want to have that. You need to document it. You absolutely need to document what it is you want your website to look like. Because if you don't do that and you hire a developer or you hire a web designer to build your website without being very, very clear as to what you want, then nobody will be held responsible if they build what you don't want. Now, so the most important thing in writing a brief is you are as clear as possible in documenting what exactly you want your website to do. I want my website to be able to sell the products that I sell. I want people to be able to pay online. I want 4 pages on my website. I want a home page. I want an about us page. I want these email addresses. You have to document what it is you want, because this is what the web designer is going to look at, and it is by what they see that they're going to be able to give you a cost, of your website. Now, after you have written down your brief, the next step is creating the content. You see, this is where a lot of problems between the website owners and website designers happen, because the content that's going to go on this website is not available. So the web designers, business owners would already give out money to the web designer. Okay, start with our website. Okay, when the web designer is asking, okay, I need content, I need content about your business, about us, when did you start, I need this, then he's chasing the business owner for content. This content is not ready, it's not available. There are no photos to go on the website. There's no text to go on the website. So what's going to happen? Because now you've paid him, now he's the one chasing you for content. So the 5th and most important thing to consider before building a website is you must write a brief. This brief is what will guide the web designer on what he's going to build. And absolutely you need to create the content. Okay, I want a page that I can tell people when we started. Write that content out. The photos are going to go on your website. Look for them, take those photos so that you can pass them along to the web designer so he's not chasing you for content. So that's the 5th step. You need to absolutely write a brief and you need to absolutely develop that content.
Hi, we can see Chinazo Adajo. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so the 5th thing is that you have to write your brief. So, okay, Ayo, you're telling us that you actually, as a website owner, you're the one who writes everything and the developer puts everything for you. I was thinking that once you pay for your website, you should have your website delivered to you.
Yeah, it's a I'll say it's a misconception that has happened for a long time. Many business owners assume that the content that goes on the website should be created by the web designer. This is wrong, because it's like telling a bricklayer that, okay, build this house, then furnish it. No. The bricklayer can build the structure of the website, but the content is yours. You're the one who's going to furnish your website.
What if you
house.
Want the person
to put in the content?
Yes.
Then that's a separate business entirely, because now you're talking about content production. So somebody has to write the content. unless the web designer is also a content specialist, he might have given you a bill for also putting in the content. But it's your website. It's you who has the details of when you started the business, the things you want to sell on the website. You have all of that content. So you need to
Okay. Also, all the websites that you build, you started by saying that you've built close to 100 websites.
That's right.
Do you do content for them as well?
Yeah.
Or depending on the business?
Yeah, for some of them, and that's why another line of business has started around content, because content is quite hard to produce, especially if it is original content, right? So business owners, unfortunately, usually don't have the time to put their own content together, which in the first place makes it counter intuitive. You want a website, but you don't have time to put the content together, and then people who are able to create this content take that business up and are able to create that content. But strictly speaking, the website designer's job is to build the structures that can hold your content. So
we have a question.
Okay.
Are there website content creators, and averagely what's the cost of creating website content in Nigeria?
So that question is very interesting, and what I would say is there are no flat costs across the industry, because you're building websites for different business owners across different industries. There are businesses that are just strictly consulting, and their content is very, very special. If for instance somebody is a special consultant or maybe strategy, for you to be able to put content for them, then you must do a lot of research in putting their content. So what I would say is that depending on the kind of website it is, depending on the kind of industry you're building a website
and the
for,
type of content
and the type of content as well, the prices might vary. For instance, if you're trying to create content for an e-commerce website, for instance, an e-commerce website is pictures of the products that are being sold, and then maybe descriptions of the products that are being sold, as well as maybe blog content. So all of those things require somebody to take photos of those products, somebody to write the descriptions about those products. So you can see that the content for an e-commerce platform is quite different from content for a business that is not e-commerce. So prices would definitely
also
vary.
Different.
Yes.
Okay.
And sorry, let me just add that, because since she's asking what's the average cost of creating the website content, it might also depend on the skill level of the content creator.
Okay, so that reminds me when we started Redalia.com, so depending on we had people, you don't expect somebody who is writing finance, who is crushing numbers, to still charge you the same thing as somebody who maybe is just writing on general lifestyle things.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah,
exactly.
that would be another example.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, so
there's another question.
Okay.
Joshua says, I'm new to web designing. I had an e-commerce website someone built for me, but since then I keep having issues with the site. So last month I started learning website designing on my own through YouTube. Last week I built an e-commerce website, which I'm still finding it hard to really give it a perfect content and design, which I would love to do this on my own. Questions: how can I do this, and what are the necessary plugins every website must have? How can one get maximum traffic to his plenty questions. We are going to take it one after the other. So congratulations on building your website, Obilo. Very good. Kudos to you. That's what we are trying to encourage. These things you can self-learn them. So your first question is, how can you build your website, and what are the necessary plugins that your website should have? So over to you.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to say congratulations to you, Joshua, for taking the big steps in trying to build your own website yourself. Because I believe that the core of your business should not be outsourced to other people. If the core of your business is having an e-commerce website where you sell, you might want to know enough about it to be able to actually understand the website and be able to actually sell. So the question is, what are the necessary plugins every website must have? So, well, even though it's a very technical question, so that we don't lose the rest of the audience, first of all, if your website is being built by WordPress, then there are several things that you need to have on your website. There's security to think about, so you should have a security plugin. There is optimization, SEO optimization website, that's search engine optimization plugins to have on your website, so that it is easier for search engines to actually be able to find your content. There is something called cache, not CASH, but yes, so CACHE. That means that you're trying to make sure that your website is fast, it loads fast on people's websites. So that's image caching. So you can have those kind of website plugins on your website. There are quite a number of things that you can have on your website, but depending on the kind of website it is, since yours is e-commerce, obviously you need to have a shopping cart website plugin on your website. WooCommerce is, very, very popular in this industry, as well as payment integration. Everybody needs to be able to pay online. So there's several payment integration plugins. There's Paystack, there's VoguePay. There's quite a number of them. And maybe after this live session, we could delve into some of those details with Joshua. And his second question was,
okay, how can one get maximum traffic to his website through organic ads?
Okay, so in fact, he's now asking, how can you get a lot of people to come to your website? Well, the first thing about traffic that you must understand, is that you must have content that is remarkable. And when I say content that is remarkable, it means that you are not writing what everybody else is writing, or you're not sounding the same way everybody else is sounding. Because if you're sounding like everybody else, then you're going to be getting the kind of traffic everybody else is getting. So how unique is your content? How interesting is your content? So you need to really sit down to think about what differentiates your business from others, and that's what gets you some organic traffic. That's one way to do it. The second way to do it is to advertise. And a lot of businesses, when they have finished building their website, they would just forget about advertising. And they would even assume that once you build the website, a lot of traffic is just going to come by itself. No, it's not going to happen, because if you don't give people the push, they're not going to come to you. So if you're not able to write a lot of content that is interesting, your alternative is to advertise. So please advertise your products, and then you see the traffic coming in.
Okay, so Obilo, I hope you answered your question. You have a follow-up question. You use WooCommerce. Now the WooCommerce is giving you issues. Okay, so Obilo, I think maybe you need to reach to Ayo privately.
Okay.
We'll share his contacts with you. Ayo is a guru in this thing. He owns booksellers.com.ng, digital download, photosell.com.ng. So you need to send him a message if you still have more challenges. So Peter Owolabi says, what's the use of an SSL plugin? That's a security plugin, yeah?
Yes. Yeah, you're a guru in this as well. Okay. So another question says, what is the use of an SSL plugin? Now, let's demystify what this is. So SSL is, the full meaning of SSL is Secure Socket Layer. And it's a protocol used on the internet to actually secure the communication between you and between your website and the client who is looking at your website, because in reality your website is saved on a computer somewhere in the world. Now the person who is browsing your website on their computer, he has a connection from his computer to the computer on which your website is stored. You understand? Now the communication between your customer who is looking at your website and the computer on which your website is stored, that communication can either be secured or unsecured. Now, to prevent a third party, that's this person who's your customer and your the computer on which your website is stored, to prevent a third party from being able to listen to the communication going on between that, people install SSL plugins, or they use security on their own computers, so that your computer is always communicating with customers in a secure way. And the easiest way for you to know if a website is secure that way is you would see that in the address bar you would see HTTPS instead of just HTTP. So when you see HTTPS, you know that the website has been provided with security. And Peter's question says, what is the use of an SSL plugin? An SSL plugin helps you to configure that security if you have installed it on your website. That's a little very technical, but in a nutshell, that's what it is.
It also keeps your mind at rest that, oh, my website is secure. Like,
exactly.
Hackers cannot just go and hack it, right?
Well, that's also partly true. But security is very, very important on the internet, and if you're not taking security seriously, you're going to get into trouble.
All right, Obilo, we are going to share Ayo's contact and our contact with you. So if you need to talk more, I can assure you, like, here is the right place for you to get all your questions answered and get solutions to the problems that you are having with your website. So we just on the 5th steps, essential things that you have to consider before building your website.
Yeah.
So we are going to go on to the 6th one now.
Okay, so we've gone through almost all the 7 essential things, and the 6th thing is that after you have written your brief and you have produced the content or gotten somebody to produce the content for you, the next thing is to look for somebody who's going to actually build the website. Now, this could be an easy task for some, and it could also be a difficult task for others. Now, naturally, what you would probably do is go look for recommendations from friends or family or business owners who have actually built websites that you like, and even after getting recommendations from people, it's also still good that you do your own due diligence to look through what they've done to see if they are a right fit for you. Because in reality, it's usually not just everybody you can work with, and you need to actually even try 2 or 3 different people to be able to look through the work they've done. How much attention are they paying to details? Are their graphics good? You really need to look around. But my advice is usually ask people who have gone through this before and ask for recommendations from them. It's very, very important. And after you've gotten recommendations, do some snooping around on your own. Look at the websites they've done, look at things that they've worked on, and just be sure that, okay, I like what this man has done, and you can then just take it off from there.
Okay, so Obilo has another question. He said he runs a Facebook advertisement, but have heard too many people talk about organic ads, which they say it gets them converts with or without an. Okay, I am going to answer this because I feel those Udemy courses are not going to waste. Okay, so Obilo, actually, I think that running ads are like the last thing that you need to do. Just like Ayo said, you need to create content that are shareable. It's only when your contents are rich and shareable that people can share it, and it's only when people see it that it has the ability to even get leads that can actually even convert. So when we start, one of the episodes that we did is 10 things that you need to know for building visibility for your business. This was discussed by Mufulu Shode, mompreneur.ng. So if you go to our website, redalia.com, or still on our Facebook page here, you see the 10 things that you need to do to build visibility for your business. So she outlined the 10 things, and the last thing is actually advertising. So please go through that, and if you still have more questions, we'll pick it up from there. Thank you.
Okay, great. So just to add to what Florence has just said, and to also demystify some of those terms for the general audience, so organic ads organic leads are those people who come to your website organically. They come to your website because they saw something they liked on somebody's timeline, and they come to your website, and then they convert to your customers because they actually take an action. Maybe they buy what it is you're selling, or maybe they download an ebook that you're trying to give out for free, or whatever it is. So people come to your website as a visitor, and then when they take the desired action that you have on your website, then you have converted them successfully into customers. And like she said, your content needs to be interesting. Excuse me. Your content needs to be interesting. It needs to be unique. It needs to come at them. Think about it. When you share content of other people, what makes you share those content?
Exactly.
What makes you share it? So that's the emotion you want to convey with your content, so that people can as well share your content. So you have to think about it in that line. So if you share a content, it means it's either very interesting to you, or it's funny, or it makes you sad, or it makes you angry. Those are the things that make people share content. So you have to think about your content in those contexts, and create content in that light.
All right, so if you are joining us, we are live from Tango Redalia Workspaces, 43B Emina Crescent, off Twain Street, Ikeja, and we are discussing 7 essential things to consider before building a website for your business. We've already gone through the 6 things. We are now on to the final one. If you are here, say hi, ask your questions in the comment section, and we will answer you. Thank you. Okay. So the last one.
Okay, so before I go into the last one, let me just recap so that I just go into the last one. So 7 essential things that you should consider before building a website. The first thing is you need to start selling, first of all, on social media without a website. These social media platforms are great for selling because the target audiences that you have already belong on one of these social media platforms. So it could be on Facebook, it could be on Instagram, it could be on Twitter, it could be on Snapchat, or it could even be on LinkedIn. So you have to start selling on social media platforms, first of all. Secondly, if you are in a service business, you want to have a platform where you share your thought leadership, where you share the things that you know happening in your industry. So you could create a free blog on platforms like blogger.com, wordpress.com, LinkedIn publishing, as well as what's the last one? Medium. You can also publish on medium.com. Yeah. So those places allow you able to share your unique insights about your service, about the service industry, and you can actually convert customers from there as well. The third thing, which is very, very important before you start, is the total cost of ownership. And I explained total cost of ownership with an example about a tin of milk. The total cost of owning a tin of milk is not just 200 naira, for instance. It includes having a refrigerator to keep it safe, having a generator if there's no electricity to power your refrigerator. It includes having fuel in the generator as well. So the total cost of owning a website is not just building it. How do you maintain it constantly throughout the year? How do you make sure that it is doing what it needs to do, why you built it in the first place? And total cost of ownership include costs like advertising. You're spending money to advertise people to come to your website. So you need to know what that total cost is before you go into it. The fourth thing was about domain names and hosting. As much as possible, if you want to go ahead to build a website, then you should try and buy your own domain name and hosting yourself, because the way the internet works, if the person who buys the domain name and hosting is considered the owner of that website, so as much as possible, you should try to buy your domain name and hosting yourself. And I explained that you could look through some of the registrars that we have online. And the fifth one was around writing a brief and creating the content. You need to write out exactly how you want your website to be like. and that's a form of documentation, so that when you're building and you run into problems with your web designer, you can go back to that documentation and say, see, I wrote it here that this is what I want. So there will be no issues of you didn't say this, you didn't say that. It's very, very important. As well as writing the brief, you should create the content. So you create the content that's going to go on your website. If you cannot, then you pay somebody to write to create your content for you. And the sixth one was about looking for somebody who would build your website. You should ask for recommendations, go through their work, go through all what they've done in the past to be sure that they are the right fit for you. And the last thing, the seventh and final thing, is that you need to agree on the payment terms. Now, a lot of the times, these conversations happen over the phone. So you've spoken with the web designer and you've agreed that this is how much it's going to cost and this is how much you're going to deposit. There's usually no way to document this, but here's what you should do. If you have this conversation over the phone, then what you should do is you can then send a text message or a WhatsApp message or an email even to the web designer that this is what we have agreed, and have them confirm that this is what you have agreed. It serves as a form of documentation as well, because sometime down the line, if everything goes well, the building of your website should not last more than maybe 2 to 3 weeks if you have all of these things in place. But sometimes it drags on and drags on and drags on, but you can forget, okay, how much did we say it was going to cost, what was you supposed to deposit initially, and things like that. If you don't have it written down, then it becomes a problem. So even if you have the conversation over the phone about how much it is that you're going to pay and what the deposit should be, you send a refresher right after that phone call. Okay, we've agreed this and this is what I'm paying first. And have them say, yes, this is it. You can have that as a documentation down the line to refresh your memories if anything goes wrong. So I think if you're able to go through these 7 essential processes, then you would be better prepared to manage your website, and you would have a website that is actually working for the purpose in which you built it for. So I think I've come to the end of this 7 essential things, and I hope you guys out there learned one thing or two. And yes. Thank you for having me.
Me, I learned a lot. I'm sure we all learned a lot too. So if you are just joining us, we are coming to the conclusion of today's live section. 7 essential things to consider before building a website for your business. And with me live is Ayodeji Agbola. Ayo, thank you so much for coming on our show today. Okay, so we are coming live to you from Redalia Workspaces, 43B Emina Crescent off Towing Street. Here is a co-working space. Redalia does consulting, we do trainings, and you can always pop in, see what we are about, take a tour of our facility, hold your trainings here. We're also running a promo. You can work here for a full day for just 2,000 naira, and the internet is fiber optic, and the ambience is relaxing. Yes, very professional. So we are doing great things here. You should just check us out. And thank you. We're looking forward to seeing you next Monday by 10 a.m. Stay glued and never ever miss any of our sections. Thank you. Thank you again, Ayo.
All right, people. Thank you very much for watching.
All right. Bye. Bye. So if you still have questions, write your questions in the comments and we'll also get back to you. And below, we are going to send you a mail so that we understand what your problems are, and then we can offer solution. Thank you again for joining. Take care. Bye. Enjoy the rest of your week.